Hello, everybody. So I am changing up what our topic is. I was planning on talking about the Passover meal and Jesus and continuing with why the Old Testament is so important. But because Lent just started, I'm actually going to do a Lent talk today since we did begin Lent on Ash Wednesday. Now, Ash Wednesday, we begin this 40-day process of connecting ourselves with Jesus when he was in the desert for 40 days before he began his public ministry. The number 40 is in the Bible a lot. It is the number of days Noah had to wait for the ark to float on the water. 40 is the number of years that the Israelites wandered in the desert after being freed from slavery in Egypt. And 40 is the number that Jesus 40 days in the desert where he fasted. So, okay, what does all of this stuff mean, basically? So we have God who becomes fully human. So Jesus is God, fully human, fully divine. He comes to earth, and one of the very first things that he does before he begins his public ministry and begins teaching people is he gets baptized, and then he goes into the desert. And we've discussed this before about what happens to Jesus when he goes into the desert. He encounters the devil. This is a very, very important story, and I hope to unpack it for you here. So Jesus goes into the desert. He's fasting. Now, why would God fast? First off, why would God fast? Christ gives us a ton of information on what we need to do as individuals. What's beautiful about the way he does it is he does it also. Look, there's Scooby wandering around, my little cat. Easily distracted. Jesus gives us so many examples of what we are supposed to do, and he actually does them himself. He acts them out for us himself, and this is something that happens in the desert. So if you remember, when Jesus is in the desert, he hasn't had a lot of food to eat. When the devil comes to him, the very first thing the devil says is, turn these stones into bread so that you can eat. Jesus was fully human. And in his humanity, if he was fasting, he would have been hungry. He would have wanted to eat something. And the devil is playing on that, playing on his earthly desire for something. And he's telling Jesus, eat food. And, Jesus doesn't do that. He resists that temptation. The next temptation that he gives to Jesus is, he tells him, everything that is here can belong to you. You can have everything if you just bow down and worship me. This is another temptation that Jesus resists, and this is another temptation that you and I are hit with constantly. We focus on earthly things and not on God himself. The things that we want to worship are things of this earth that we think will make us happy, but ultimately will not make us happy. That is something that Christ also resists. The last one, he tells Jesus, throw yourself down, because in scripture, it says that God will command his angels to protect you. He's telling Jesus, throw yourself down off of the top of this temple in front of everybody so they can watch you be saved by God. This is the devil attempting to get Jesus to fall into the trap of pridefulness. There's another thing that makes this scripture that the devil uses very, very amusing. Well, I say amusing. It's kind of dark and twisted, but the devil quotes scripture in order to tempt Jesus. And the scripture verse that the devil is using is actually the scripture verse that Jewish people use to perform exorcisms. So you would imagine that the devil probably hears this one a lot, where he is saying, God commands his angels to protect you. This is something that Jewish rabbis used in exorcisms, and he has the audacity to quote it to Jesus. Jesus resists. There's something else amazing happening here, though, and I want you guys to go back to remember Genesis 3. In Genesis 3, Adam and Eve are being tempted by the devil, and this is what the devil says. He was like, "Look at this tree; it's good for food," just like he said to Jesus, "Change those stones to bread." Same temptation. He says, look at this. It's a delight for the eye. This tree is a delight for the eye. Eve, you should eat from it. He also tells Jesus, look at everything on earth. All of this can be yours. Another delight for the eye. So they're tempted in the same way. The last one is, eat this fruit and you will be like God. So if you imagine if you were being told you can be like God, that would well up pride within us. He's doing the exact same thing to Jesus this time in the desert where he says, throw yourself down in front of everybody so they can see how amazing you are and the power you possess. So the devil tempts Adam and Eve fall prey to these temptations. Then Jesus is tempted with the exact same temptations and he resists them. So Christ essentially is the perfection of the Old Testament, where Jesus is surpassing, is showing superiority to everything that Adam did in the Old Testament. We are getting a new Adam when we receive Christ. We are getting the perfection of that firstborn son, you could say. Now, Jesus is fasting in the desert. And why? Why fast? I want you to imagine for a second that you want to be a professional photographer. So you go out, you purchase a camera, you take pictures one time, and you're like, well, that's it. I'm a professional photographer. Odds are, no, you are not a professional photographer because you didn't do any of the hard work. You did one small thing and it led to nothing. An analogy I used in another video was, imagine for a second you say, dental hygiene matters to me. I'm going to brush my teeth and have good dental hygiene. So you go brush your teeth one time, never do it again. That is going to have zero long-term effects on your dental hygiene because you did it once. So when we're looking at fasting, one of the things that we're doing is we are developing our willpower. So in Lent, we are called to fast and we are called to pray and we are called to give alms for the entire 40 days. When you do something repeatedly over and over again, you actually build up your willpower and you build up your ability to resist things that are bad. So when we see Christ fasting, it's twofold. Twofold for us, not twofold necessarily for Christ, but it's twofold for us. One, we get to enter into the suffering that Jesus entered into, and we get to connect ourselves with what he went through on our account. Two, we develop our willpower, and by doing something every single day, it has a long-term beneficial effect. So if I brush my teeth once, not going to do anything. If I brush my teeth multiple times every single day, it is going to have a long-term effect, which brings me to the second 40 story. So we're going to talk about Israel wandering in the desert for 40 years very quickly. Now, imagine for a moment that you were the Israelites. You were an Israeli slave, and that is the only thing you ever knew. You were born into slavery. You constantly served another master, and that was it. That was your life. You served somebody else. You didn't serve yourself. What would that look like for you? What would your life look like? What would you as an individual look like? I know that if I was only ever used to serving an Egyptian master, coming out of slavery, I don't know that I would be able to fully direct myself to God. I don't know that I would fully be able to, be a healthy human being. One of the translations that we don't fully understand because, if, a lot of people who are bilingual understand this, the original text of the Bible was not written in English. So when it's translated to English, some things get lost. So when the Israelites were freed from slavery in Egypt, God led them to what is referred to as the Midbar. So they wandered in the Midbar for 40 years because they were becoming new creations. The Midbar is a term used for shepherds. That means it's a place where they take their lambs or their sheep or their rams to replenish themselves, to rest and become healthy, you could say. It's a place where they can eat, they can safely sleep, they can drink water. And so God actually brings the Israelites into the desert, into the Midbar, so that they can become new, they can become changed. So apply this to yourself. You had a master that you served, and now you don't have it anymore. So you are changing. During Lent, you are meant to identify what master you serve. So this is where abstaining, not just from meat on Fridays, but this is where abstaining, when we say that I'm going to give up something for Lent, this is when it becomes important. If you say, I'm going to give up chocolate for Lent, that is great if you really love chocolate, but here's the thing. Does it actually really have a bad effect on you? Like, are you going to be a brand new person if you give up chocolate for 40 days? Probably not. Look at yourself and figure out, what do I serve? What is my master? Just like the Israelites had a master, who is your master? Is it money? Is it having a lot of attention from other people? Is it being better? Is there somebody that drives you nuts and you just need to be better than them? You don't want them to win? Look for it. Look for what you serve. So if, for adults, a lot of us end up really like worshiping our jobs, and we focus so acutely on work that we let other things fall to the wayside. So one of the things that I am trying to do, because between work and school, I don't get a substantial amount of time for my kids. Every single day, I have something mapped out for myself to do special with my children so that they know that they are my priority. And I'm hoping, this is the plan, through the 40 days of Lent, it'll become a habit for me, and it'll improve my family. It'll improve my relationship with my children. And that is what you are meant to do these 40 days, just like the Israelites did in the desert. So look for what your God is. Is it money? Is it earthly pleasures? Maybe it is something like drinking, or, I don't know what the kids are doing today, but I had a lot of friends that they smoked pot all the time when we were in high school and things like that. Find the thing that you are doing that isn't healthy for you, isn't good for you, is damaging your relationship with God, and find a way to change it. Find a way to do something every single day to make it different. This could be as simple, if you're a very prideful person, this could be as simple as setting an alarm on your phone for a certain time every day and doing a breathing prayer where you sit and you inhale and you exhale, and you do it for 5 minutes, and you just allow your focus to be on God. You don't have to say anything. If you're struggling with pride, that would be an amazing thing to do. And that's actually something that I am also doing. I have anger issues, and this type of prayer, it does seem to transform me. And I do it, and then I fall off the wagon and I don't do it anymore. So it's definitely time for me to pick that back up. So what I want for you guys to discuss in the emails that you return to me, I want you to talk about, first, explain back, what did Jesus do that was similar to what Adam and Eve did? Explain it to me and explain the differences, the similarities and the differences. Second, imagine yourself a slave. What is something that you serve that you could change during Lent, that you could put all of your energy into changing during Lent? And that is your writing assignment. Please be a little bit thorough with it. Don't just put, I don't have anything, and move on, because that's lame. Don't do that. So anyway, I hope all of you have a wonderful start to Lent. And happy whatever today is. Bye.